Welcome and good day, everyone. Press morning from Sydney, Australia. My name is Jerome Babati. I am the host and moderator of today's webinar organized by the Sydney-based PropDev Center, which is a professional development organization. The National Education Webinar Series is designed to help education professionals to learn how to turn evidence into practice in schools and how to use evidence to measure the impact of their teaching and leadership. Special mention today to the participants from the Department of Education, okay, youth participants from this department. We also have participants from Binadao State University, Bukidnon State University, and of course, Brokenshire College, SOC Sargent. I am very excited for today's webinar. So before we actually start with our webinar proper, let us first join in prayer. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this webinar. Help us engage in meaningful discussion. Fill us with your grace, Lord God, as we make decisions that might affect our students, teachers, communities, and our society. And continue to remind us that all we do here today, all that we accomplish, is for the pursuit of truth for the greater glory of you and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. This event is being recorded for those who are unable to participate today and will be available on YouTube shortly. At the end of the presentation, our presenter will answer your questions, which you can type in the chat box and we will address as many questions as time allows. After filling up the online evaluation form, a certificate of participation will be emailed to you along with the link of the recording of this webinar. So now a little bit about our presenter, Dr. Daniel Joseph Berdida. Dr. Joseph is a faculty member of the University of Santo Tomas in Manila. He received his PhD in curriculum and instruction at the Philippine Normal University. The title of his topic is Understanding Filipino Teachers' Experience of Pedagogical Dilemmas in the Light of Julia Kristeva's Unteachable Moments. Let me welcome Dr. Daniel Joseph Berdida. Kumusta po kayo? Magandang hapon sa inyo, sir.
Magandang magandang umaga po dito sa Pilipinas, sir. Ngayon po ay maulan po dito at saka medyo makulimlim.
Okay, good. Yes, sir.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Okay. So I would just like to say welcome everyone for this National Education Webinar Series, or as we call it as news. And in this kind of seminar, we are going to discuss and to have a point of convergence concerning teacher education, not only in the local setting, but at the same time, of course, with an international perspective. And I would like to say thank you. Maraming salamat po, Professor Babati, for inviting me to be your speaker or webinar facilitator for this particular event. Although this will be a quiet or short moment to share something for our teachers, and I also pray that at the end of this, our teachers and our participants will have a takeaway that they can bring with them so that they may able to understand their experiences as teachers, so that they may able at the same time to provide the best kind of strategy or pedagogy to their students, whatever the level of education they are into, be it primary, secondary, vocational, or tertiary settings. Okay, now let me share to you my topic for this day, which is understanding Filipino teachers' experiences of pedagogical dilemmas in the light of Julia Kristeva's Unteachable Moment. Okay, now to give us a background on this, why we were able to, or why I was able to arrive in this kind of study is that in 2009, in 2009, John Hattie, which was considered to be the most influential teacher educator of the 20th century, published the so-called visible learning. Now, visible learning is a product of meta-analysis of more than 800 studies concerning learning of students And he was able to arrive in the conclusion that learning, for it to be very effective, should be visible. Dapat po yung pagkatuto ng ating mga mag-aaral ay nakikita. So that's what we call visible learning. Okay? Now, when we talk about visible learning, invisible learning means when you see that the learning is really occurring and you notice, you observe, it is exhibited, it is manifested, you can really assess this kind of learning. It means in that type of space, teachable moments occur. Because when we talk about teachable moments, it is considered by a lot of educational scientists as something that is a learning opportunity. Or sometimes they call it the aha moment. For example, nakita mo yung bata, the student, when you were discussing a certain topic, immediately the student pitch in a question. So it means that the student is really interested with that particular topic. And that becomes now a teachable moment. So the teacher can start discussing, okay, or start guiding students to learn about this certain question. Then it becomes a learning opportunity. And learning really happens on that particular moment. Now, another one, in order for us teachers to really see that there is visible learning that is occurring, it is also important to look into student achievement, because student achievement is directly proportionate, or it is now the value of what learning is really is. So we look into the student achievement. So if we know about this student achievement, there are several avenues that student achievement or tests, okay, that is being implemented. So it could be done in a district-wide, it could be done province-wide, or it could be done in a national one. So this is now actually the culmination of testing now what really curriculum is. Okay, so the curriculum that was being delivered now being tested. So we have now your tested curriculum. So that is your so-called student achievement, looking into their visible learning or assessing their learning, which should be visible. Okay, now this is quite a challenge within the Philippine setting. Why? Because we all know that the Philippines is lagging behind other countries, especially among developed countries. So Philippines is a third world country, is lagging behind. But lo and behold, student achievement is not only a perpetual problem in the Philippines, it is also a problem among developed countries. So developed countries always say that they are doing okay when it comes to student achievement. But there are, again, problems that they are encountering. So several studies prove that one, with the student achievement in USA, in Australia, in United Kingdom, as well as Germany, they all revealed to be equally having problem with student achievement. So it's not only a perpetual problem in the Philippines. Developed countries also experience, underachievement of their students. Okay? Now, let's also consider that with all this student achievement we're talking about, visible learning that we're talking about, that is being positioned within the curriculum and instruction of teachers inside the classroom or within a learning environment, we have to consider that teacher is considered to be the key determinant of students' experiences and outcomes of schooling. So what the student actually achieves, that is because of the that is because of the actions that was being poured into by the teachers. Okay, so the outcomes of schooling, the experiences of students, those are actually being put into by our teachers. And at the same time, our teachers are also the primary responsible for student academic achievement. So we cannot deny the fact that what the student achieves, the teacher has the biggest factor in that. Okay? So that is what you call now the key determinant of students' experiences and outcomes of schooling. So we cannot deny the fact that what the student achieves, the teacher has the biggest factor in that. Because when it is in a state of invisibility, you cannot see, you cannot assess, achievement is poor, learning is poor, teaching is poor, they are all being now placed in a state of invisibility. Now, if that thing happened in the state of invisibility, then that is now the place that we call now as the unteachable moments. So unteachable moment is a very novel term, okay, in the parlance of education. We always talk about be teachable moments, learning opportunities, learning moments, but we never really ventured into this another side of the continuum of the learning process, which is the unteachable side or the unteachable moments. Quite difficult really to assess because there is a philosophical perspective how unteachable moments really happens, and that is from the philosophical lens of Julia Kristeva. And eventually, this was conceptually explored by another research educationist, which is in the name of Professor Hong Yu Wang. Okay, this was done in 2016. So how did they define unteachable moments? Unteachable moments is a term advanced by Julia Kristeva. These are obscure situations seldom addressed and often unrecognized by teachers that students inimically suffer. Okay, so what does it mean? It's obscure, it's hidden, it's concealed. Okay, it's implicit. The teachers, we forgot to venture on that side. So when we forgot to venture on the side, in the end, it's not the teachers that is really suffering from this. These are our students. So what are the effects of these unteachable moments? Upon conceptually exploring unteachable moments actually now is somewhat closely related to these following adverse effects. Number one, according to Julia Kristeva, it can result now to intimate revolt. So it's very obvious when we talk about intimate revolt, that is something of there is a clash or something, a revolution. Okay? There's are different angering emotions inside the teacher when he encounters difficult situations or unteachable moments. So that's intimate revolt. Another one, it can result now to what? Collapse in the pedagogical relationship. You know, when a teacher and student, they have a relationship inside the school. That is what you call a pedagogical relationship. The teacher will teach, the student will learn. Okay, the student will give something, the teacher will learn. So it's a two-way process. That's a pedagogical relationship. So once an unteachable moments happen, this relationship can no longer be healthy. So there is no collapse in the pedagogical relationship. Another one, there's also unteachable moment once there's difficult knowledge. We cannot deny that fact that as teachers, there are certain parts of the curriculum that we cannot really understand. Okay, or sometimes this difficult knowledge actually we encounter this knowledge and we have of course a traumatic experience with this, and once this particular knowledge that we are going to teach our students, okay, we have a traumatic experience or not so nice experience about it, we will have difficulty in teaching this to the students. In what way? We try to avoid this particular topic, we try to sugarcoat about this particular topic. That is what we term about difficult knowledge. It was being explored by Britzman. Okay? Another one is that it can result to delayed understanding. You know, unteachable moments happens. There is a delayed understanding. It happens to you now. You don't really want the meaning of this particular event or experience. Then later, you were able to have this time space. And then eventually, when you encounter the same similar situation, then that's the time you say, oh, this is the meaning of this particular experience. So it can relate to now to delayed understanding. And the question is, what happens during the time that you are in the process of understanding that particular event? Did you arrive to a certain understanding? That's a delayed understanding. Another one, unteachable moment occurs also if there's cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is actually a thing that is being explored over and over again in the parlance of cognitive psychology. Okay, so cognitive dissonance happens when the two persons or one or two more persons was not able to understand, okay, to converge in a particular understanding. So there's cognitive dissonance. Iba yung iniisip ng estudyante, iba din yung iniisip ng teacher. So cognitive dissonance. Okay, in what sense? Because we all know actually that when students come in inside the classroom, they have a different way of understanding of that particular concept that the teacher is teaching. So the student may feel now, that is not the way how I understand the thing. So cognitive dissonance happen in that sense. So teachers should particularly address this one. Okay, so the teacher should address what is the cause of that cognitive dissonance. Another one, when we talk about neuroscience, when there is an unteachable moments, it was being mentioned there that there is a biochemical conflict of hormones. So what are these interplay of hormones inside our body? So here comes now our adrenaline, here comes dopamine. There is an abnormal imbalance within that. And we all know that these are neurotransmitters, and they are very important, of course, for a normal cognitive function. Okay? Another one, there is now a discordance between a student's and a teacher's belief system. As I have mentioned a while ago, this is somewhat related to your cognitive dissonance. Because cognitive dissonance, we're just talking here of something that's processed inside the brain. But when we talk about discordance between the belief system, it includes an interplay of different aspects. It could be environmental, it could be social, logic in nature, it could be cultural in nature. So the belief system now, there's a difference between the student and the teacher. So within that space, unteachable moments happen. Okay? So overall, when a teacher experiences unteachable moments, twofold effect will happen. Number one, it can result to low teacher quality. Right? So if you have unteachable moment, you cannot function well as the teacher, be it in front of the students or doing, of course, your task outside the classroom. So it results now to low teacher quality. If we have low teacher quality, then what is another effect of unteachable moments? It will affect now your student. So we can assess now that the visible learning we're talking about a while ago can no longer occur. So therefore, students will achieve poorly in different types of their assessment or poor student achievement. So here comes now, they were not able to achieve this certain level of competence. They were not able now to manifest the skill that we're requiring them. They were not able now to manifest the behavior that we are, of course, expecting them to deliver at the end of this particular course, or particularly giving them specific concepts to our students. Okay, so in my study, I was able to utilize extensively Julia Kristeva's intimate revolt. Because the intimate revolt always says that all these unteachable moments happens because the teacher, as we all know a while ago, is the key factor in the student's school achievement. Okay, the main determinant in the outcomes of schooling. So when the teacher experiencing intimate revolt, it can ripple down to different types of effects. Okay, so intimate revolt, something that the teacher inside cannot really understand what is happening outside. So within herself, there is now a clash of different things. Could be clash between what he understands from inside to the outside. Okay, a clash, of course, of the knowledge that she learned as a teacher and from this new knowledge. Okay, a clash perhaps of learning new things and then going out of comfort zone. That is intimate revolt. Okay, something that is within inside. And teachers will not show this one. Okay, they will act calmly, or maybe they're going to tell, or they're going to explicitly manifest that revolt. But this intimate revolt inside is something that we seldom we just put it under the carpet. We just stop thinking about it, stop dealing with it. But after all, that's within us. It's always there, that intimate revolt. Now this can result now to what? To pedagogical dilemmas that is always shown when we are inside the classroom. So here comes now a certain situation. You cannot teach well. You have a lot of things that you are asking for. Okay? You forgot to find solutions to a particular situation. So yun yung tinatawag natin intimate revolt. Okay. Now my proposed model is this. When teachers or Filipino teachers experience unteachable moments, they undergo the 4 stages. Okay? They begin with a pre-unteachable stage. That's when the unteachable moments occur. And then unteachable stage, post-unteachable stage, and then eventually, they will culminate now, or the end of all this process is that the teachable stage. Okay? So, let me begin, of course, with talking about the pre-unteachable stage. In the pre-unteachable stage, this is the stage where in a space between the time when the teacher identified the pre-unteachable condition to the time that the teacher can no longer teach inside the classroom as an effect of that condition. So what are this? So I called another phase in the pre-unteachable stage is the so-called the contextualization phase. Or the contextualizing phase, in education, of course, when we're going to teach, we have to make sure that for the students to really understand well what we are teaching them, we contextualize it. We indigenize the situation. Okay? We'll make sure that they will understand that by giving them, okay, real life situations, indigenization, or contextualizing. They will understand it better. So how does teacher contextualize the pre-unteachable stage? In these three kind of conditions. Number one, the disrupting condition. Okay, disrupting conditions are conditions that the teachers identified that these are the conditions that will happen first before they cannot really teach or they have that unteachable moment. So they identified the teacher factor or teacher disrupting conditions, student, environmental, and management factors. Another one that they contextualize that can result now to unteachable moment is when they experience transference and counter-transference. Now, in the parlance of psychology, when we talk about transference and counter-transference, this is a situation in which, okay, probably the teacher may have, of course, a different view of really the student is. What is an example of this? You know, may mga students tayo, we have students like, wala naman silang ginagawa sa atin, pero iba yung pakiramdam natin o pagtingin natin sa kanila. Okay? Or, meron naman the other way. Walang ginagawang estudyante sa'yo, pero gustong-gusto mo siya, paborito mo yung batang to. Okay? That is transference. Oh, how about counter-transference? That's what the students is feeling towards you. Sometimes wala ka namang ginagawa sa estudyante, pero iba yung pagtingin niya sa'yo. That's why, in this sense, transference and counter-transference, we have a different view of our students or students viewing us, of our behavior, our character. Then therefore, this might hinder the learning process. That's transference and counter-transference. That could be now a part wherein unteachable phase will occur later on. And then another one is the recurrent conditions. Recurrent conditions is an event wherein, particularly, if this event that happened in the past is traumatic for the teacher, and it results now to the teacher's bad experience that this situation happened again now, okay, the teacher will remember back again that painful experience. So it will make the teacher, of course, now not ready to teach that particular concept topic that is part of the curriculum. Or in the other sense, what if the type of concept that the teacher is teaching is really difficult? Difficult knowledge. Even the teacher cannot understand this particular topic. And we all know that there are parts of our curriculum that really as teachers, we cannot understand it. We don't have an in-depth knowledge about that. So how can we teach that to our students? So that's what you call the fall down now to your difficult knowledge, pre-unteachable. So after that, what happens now? Let's go now, of course. Now. There are just particular verbatim statements from my participants about this disrupting, transferencing, recurrent conditions. So for example, this one. Okay, one particular participant, my participant number 2, tell me about this one, about your contextualization phase. Okay, you will know in yourself that you cannot teach well before the class will start as it depends on the conditions inside the classroom. See? The teacher was able now to contextualize that there are really conditions that may occur first before an unteachable moment occur. One of my major problems that cause a lot of distraction is about the students' behavior problems. So disrupting moments, the behavior part of the students. That's why unteachable moments happen. Another one, I cannot teach when students are very disrespectful. See? Unteachable moment, disrespecting. Those are the moments that I get disrupted, lose my enthusiasm and motivation to teach. So these are your disrupting conditions. Okay, how about this one? Another one is, of course, your so-called yung transferencing or counter-transferencing. I mean, there is something with a student's behavior, attitude that makes my blood boil or makes me lose my temper. But when I secretly observe if other teachers feel the same way I feel, came to realize it's only me who had that kind of feeling. So here comes now the transference of the teacher. And then another one, they think that it's them who do not like me. I do not like them either. See, this is now the play of transference and counter-transference. If these things happen inside the classroom, then do you think you can really teach well to your student? If you have that preconceived kind of attitude to your students, so that's what you call transference and counter-transference. Another one, of course, is this one. I know all of us can relate to this. One of my participants mentioned this. The curriculum guide is difficult to understand. And it's also difficult to teach students when the students or when the contents are not consistent. There are parts of the competencies that are not supposed to be in a specific area. Instead of placing appropriate competencies there, other competencies are skipping certain contents of the curriculum guide. Thus, curriculum consistency and alignment are compromised. So this can now result to your difficult knowledge of understanding that particular content of your curriculum. Okay, let's go now to your next or to our next phase, the unteachable stage. The unteachable stage, I call this the bare phase, B-A-R-E. B stands for the blanking phase. And then this is followed, of course, by the ambivalencing phase, revolting phase, and then embarrassing phase. So what do we mean by blanking phase? These are the things that occurs during the blanking phase, after having the contextualization, like having disrupted, having the transferencing, of course, and having that difficult knowledge, they have this so-called blanking, they halt, stopping phase, and then they question themselves, is this really what I'm going to teach? Is this really what's happening? After that, they will have this ambivalencing phase, characterized by the presence of mixed emotions inside or confusing, or what you call the presence of opposing feelings, the confusing and the polarizing phase. And then after that, they will realize, what is this happening inside me? Should I really be like this? That is now the revolting phase, characterized by angry, exasperating, being disgruntled by the situation. And the last one, of course, the teacher now will come to realize, should I really act this way? Should a teacher should be like this? So what sets in now is the embarrassing phase. The teacher will feel shame, guilt, or she will feel I'm not enough as a teacher, the inadequating feelings. Okay, so what are the common examples or terms or specific statements from my teacher or from a participant teacher during this time? These are the statements. Take a look. The first one. Of course, I stopped in the middle of my lecture. I asked myself, why is this happening? I cannot do anything. I really blanked out the time. When faced with a particular difficult knowledge, student posed a question, they blanked out. Okay, so the blanking phase. Another one. The ambivalence, an example of this, two opposing feelings or mixed emotions. Yes, I feel excited, but not that very excited. I have conflicting feelings. At times, I cannot really pinpoint what I'm feeling and what I should feel. Another one, angering face. It makes your blood boil with anger because of these particular events. Of course, I'm angry. You will really feel angered by their misbehaviors. And the last one is the embarrassing face. I am not really sure, but I think I feel ashamed of myself. As a teacher, I should know the answer. I should be prepared for that kind of situation. Then what happened? I am definitely ashamed and embarrassed. So I think we can go back to this particular situations as teacher. And then we have now the post-unteachable stage, characterized by two phases. Number one, after that unteachable phase or stage happened, the teacher now will do the suppressing phase and then the sequestering phase. So when we talk about suppressing phase, the teacher will think like this, I, I should not be like that in front of the students. I should not show like this to my students. So the teacher will suppress all emotion. That's characterized by restraining emotions, holding all the emotion and controlling the self. Okay? And then after that, the teacher will have this feeling, sequestering phase. Sequestering is not actually a physical sequester, but more of emotional sequestration. So when they sequester their feelings, the next feeling after suppressing, they feel very exhausted in controlling their feelings. Okay? Sometimes they feel sad. Other teachers revealed to me that they felt depressed. They lose their humor along the way. They feel burdened. There's a pressure that is being put on them, and then they feel frustrated at the end. So these are sequestering phase emotions. Okay? After that, of course, these are several examples for this. Okay. This is an example or classic example of teacher who mentioned about the so-called suppressing. Every time I'm inside the classroom, I do not think of my problems, suppressing. I think about the welfare of my students. I can contain whatever problems I have deep inside me. And then, another one for sequestering, I feel an internalized sadness when the students are seemingly disinterested or disrespectful on me. So disrespecting actually is a contextualized condition during the pre-unteachable phase. Okay? I sometimes withdraw from them by not being too emotionally engaged. I say I'm placing a line or a wall. You will get burnout, frustrated, and depressed. In this case, maybe I will not be hurt anymore. Okay? So that's it. Another one. So from this, of course, unteachable And then post-unteachable, all of my participants shared to me that they did not stop there to that unteachable moment. They realized that they have, of course, now to transit into that teachable stage because a teacher should be like that. So what did they do in order for them to transit from unteachable to teachable stage? There are two phases in this. The first thing, what they did, they strategizing phase. And then after that, that's their surviving phase. So what did they do during the time of strategizing phase? These are the different pedagogical techniques that they employ in order for them to successfully manage their unteachable experience. So composing, conditioning, converting the situation, being honest, disciplining, reflecting, emphasizing, attributing, engaging, and valuing. And then the end of this is the surviving phase. They know that they will tell that I survived the situation when they always or they realize that I am a professionalizing phase. Adapting, accomplishing, being caring, empowering themselves, and maturing. So these are the different things that the teacher shared to me that what they did in order for them to arrive in the surviving phase. Unteachable stage happened from unteachable to teachable stage. Okay? So these are the different statements. Okay? Number one, I have a display or to display a composed appearance despite negative emotions. Composing. That is a part, of course, of the strategizing. While I'm teaching, I started reflecting on what could have been to the problem. What is happening to this student? Okay, is the student experiencing difficulties or what's troubling her? So reflection. Okay, reflection. Okay, reflecting. Based on my experience, it's very important to know your students, their background, so that you will understand. So teachers here become more and more caring. So these are strategizing phase. So that they can address, of course, their experiences during the unteachable stage. Oh, another one. I became more effective in dealing with my frustration, stress, and other disturbing emotions that affect the quality of teaching. Okay? You are not ignoring them or taking them for granted. So you become more caring. Okay, I feel accomplished. I feel really fulfilled despite the difficulties. I become humbler. In that aspect, I feel matured or I felt I matured as a teacher. So these are now the things that will really tell your teacher is already in the surviving phase of the teachable phase during our journey towards these unteachable moments. Okay. Now, what are the particular limitations of this model? Number one, the research design, because I conducted this study grounded theory. So when we talk about qualitative research, it cannot really generalize all. So this particular roadway model of unteachable moment is true to my participants. It could not be true to all teachers, but for my participants, they are all true. Okay, so what can I only give here is not an overall or universal generalization, but a moderate generalization. I call it generatum moderalization or moderatum generalization. Another one, of course, is the limitation is majority of my participants are female and young adult. So probably unteachable moment. Could this be different among seasoned teacher? Maybe seasoned teacher they are not experiencing unteachable moments, or they may be experiencing unteachable moments, but not as 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 heavy as this one for our young adults or female participants. Do we have male participants? Maybe the male participants may have a different experience. And I conducted this among public secondary school teachers. Maybe unteachable moments will be a different experience among private, okay, among private teachers or private elementary teachers, okay, participants teaching in junior senior high school. So probably it's a different experience if our participants are elementary teachers or vocational or tertiary teachers or tertiary education teachers. Another one, of course, my participants are teaching social science subjects. So what about those teaching maths, those teaching sciences, those teaching Filipino subjects or English subjects? Do they have a different or will they have a different unteachable moments experience? Will they also transit or travel from pre-unteachable to teachable stage? That could be another area for further study. And then my participants are Filipino. Okay, if these are Filipino, this is particularly true among Filipino participants. How about in other countries? Is it also true? And then the study was conducted in an urbanized area. Now, we all know this, that there is really a difference of experience between teachers teaching in urban areas and among rural areas. They have a different experience. Of course, teachers living in between the urban areas, do they have a different experience too? Okay, so that's it. Now, let's consider about the conclusion of this particular model. So the first one, it theorized the process of movement of Filipino teachers from unteachable to teachable moments. Second, this particular study immersed the roadway model of Filipino teachers' unteachable moments. Another one, unteachable journey of teachers has its ebb and flow and could be extremely difficult and challenging. So there are ups and downs within this journey. Okay, among all the unteachable experiences of our Filipino teachers, there's ebb and flow. And this could be extremely difficult and challenging among teachers. And then it provides an authentic and tangible knowledge that may guide in assessing the diverse needs of teachers. That's really the reason why I ventured on this, because I want teachers to really understand that what we are experiencing is something that should not be dealt lightly, or should an experience that they should not deal with, an experience that they should just suppress, an experience that they should be left questioning. It is an experience that they need to deal with. They need to find solution for it. Okay, and they need to embrace this as a normal event. Because if you understand this particular event, then you can arrive in greater understandings of all your experiences. Okay, so, and implementing appropriate strategies in every particular phase of the theoretical model. Say, for example, you are in the suppressing phase. Okay, you're holding or controlling your emotions. Okay, if you don't know that you're in the holding phase, in the end, you might erupt. And you might, of course, project all your anger to your students. And you just melt down in front of your students. If you know that you're in the suppressing phase, then probably you can make a strategy like to cool down first, to compose yourself first. So stop from what you're doing, and then you regain your composure. Because you know already that you are suppressing your emotions. Oh, another one. The spiraling research inquiry contributes to the new knowledge to the blind spot creative and teachable moments in the teaching and learning environment. We never really, ventured into unteachable moments. We don't even have a term for this in the parlance of education, right? Unteachable moments. We never talk about this one. We always talk about difficulties, we always talk about challenges, but all in all, I consider this as within the realm of unteachable moments. Okay, so that ends my sharing for my proposed modular study. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Thank you very much, Dr. Joseph. It's a very good presentation of yours. Quite interesting on that aspect. No? We would like to look into some questions. There are questions here, but yeah.
So,
let me have a look.
Professor.
It's okay. You can call me Jerome.
Yes. So to spark our argument or discussion, since this is just a very intimate way of sharing, because we only have 10
that's right.
actually. So it's very what you call this, like more intimate. Okay, intimate discussion or point of exchange of ideas. So these are my prompts for us to really understand our experience as teacher within that area of pedagogical dilemma. So this one, what are your unteachable moments as a teacher? How do you feel about it? What did you do to overcome it? And then eventually, what are or what understandings you learned from this kind of experience or from this kind of experiences? So these are the things that we might be challenged or we might really think about harder. So yeah.
Can we ask our participants to join us in the conversation? Magandang ano to, yung mga kaibigan natin from various regions. Dr. Joseph is you know, happy to answer your questions. Meron atang question dito, sandali ha. Wala pang question. Okay. Can you cite a particular example? Can you cite a particular example of yung talagang unteachable moments, yung experience mo
For me,
as a teacher? Yeah, yeah,
as a teacher,
yeah.
I think most of the time, I experience it's different when I teach in a public school or public university. Most of the experiences there I encounter with unteachable moment comes from disrupting moments.
Okay.
Disrupting in a sense, like in disrupting moments, there are several factors there. Number one, student.
Okay.
Okay, most of the students I encounter, if the teacher is not yet there, or you are not going to impose your discipline, they are very unruly. They are very out of control. So once it happens, you can no longer, of course, focus yourself on the topic at hand. So that could be a ground for an unteachable moment. Another one, in public school, you don't have that technology that you can utilize in order to facilitate a seamless type of teaching environment. So you don't have that one. So you have to wait, or perhaps you have to devise another one. So you really have to be prepared. So that could be an unteachable for me. Another one, of course, is the behavior of the students. Okay, what kind of behavior is that? There are students that I feel this, I'm not dealing with transference and counter transference. Sometimes before, not knowing all this transference and counter transference, I experience like when student will I'm discussing and the student will have like rolling the eyes on me or having this kind of behavior in, while just sitting. I I what you call this? I conclude or I look at it like as if the student don't like me. Or maybe the student is thinking ill of me, or there is something wrong about me. So I have that in my mind, like I'm going to watch out for this particular student. I'm going to check if he is really, really worthy of doing that to me. Okay, so here comes now the transference. So I become now biased to that particular student, or because of that particular behavior of the student in the classroom, I am interrupted now. I am distracted now to continue with my discussion. I'm disrupted now to give the best of my discussion. Okay? And then, of course, before you enter your classroom, here comes now the difficult knowledge. Here comes now the recurrent moments. When you are going to teach something, there are particular students that will just tell you or suddenly ask you about something, and then this particular topic is very sensitive on your part as a teacher. Okay? And you are not prepared for that particular topic. Okay? Say, for example, topics like very sensitive rape, okay? Topics like that, genocide, okay? Abuse. These are difficult topics to teach to our student. How are we going to teach this?
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You made a point on that. Yeah.
Now for difficult knowledge. Okay? Now, I'm going to give an example, of course. It was not explained as a particular difficult knowledge, but I can say that this was a difficult knowledge based from the explanations of Britzman. There are times during, of course, martial law. Okay? Here comes now. Social studies teacher, you are going to teach martial law. Who do you think can teach martial law well? A teacher who was there, okay, along the streets during EDSA revolution, or the teacher who don't have even a slight experience or in-depth understanding about EDSA revolution. So for that teacher who was not there, you are just basing all your explanation in a vicarious way, nagbasa ka lang literature, I think it is not that, you are not really in that position, best position to discuss about EDSA revolution. Okay, that is now the difficult knowledge. Teachers, we don't understand this one. We just teach them. Students will just listen to us. Okay, so that could be a difficult knowledge. Okay, recurrent situation, painful ones, traumatic ones for the teacher. Could you imagine you explain something like this when you were very, very new, you were just a pre-service teacher, and one of your students fought with you or had a heated argument with you, okay? And then here comes now 2 years later, you were again placed on the same situation. How do you deal with this? Because it will again go back. All the memories will just come back, okay? They will just set in again. Okay,
Yeah,
these are
thank you very much. Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for that insight, Dr. Joseph. I just, I just received a question here on my messenger, and it says, ito yung mga exposure ng mga kabataan natin sa Pilipinas to constant barrage of information about yung disaster, gun violence talagang uh, at, at the top level yung gun violence natin dyan sa Pilipinas. And even unstable political leadership from the national and the local. How do you, these are unteachable moments na pwedeng itanong ng mga bata, but how would you handle this?
Yes, okay. Now, the key thing here actually is this particular kind of situation does not really offer, okay, a well-fitted, technique in dealing with this. Okay? What I'm trying to say is, itong klase ng situation, actually, example, unteachable moments, ang study kong ito ay hindi talaga magbibigay sa teacher kung ano yung dapat mong gawin. Okay? Kung ano yung dapat gawin, ang main focus dito ng study ko is yung teacher, paano niya malalaman sa sarili niya, okay, of how to teach this well. In that sense, the teacher personally, okay, can identify his personal strategies in, teaching that particular difficult knowledge. Because we have different way of dealing with different things. Okay? But there is a generic way of doing this. So this particular model informs us, unang gagawin natin, we have to embrace that all the things that we are feeling right now, experiencing, these are all totally normal. You are not alone in this situation. Example, you get frustrated, you get tired, you are not alone in that. So you have to recognize that feeling. And then you go back. What is this particular event or thing that's making me tired or frustrated? Okay? And then after that, you are now going to check or to reflect on yourself what particular solution I have to make for this particular event or difficult knowledge. Say, for example, let's talk about politics, okay? Gun violence. Well, number one that you're going to do first as a teacher from this kind of the theory that is informing us is, number one, you have first of self-awareness. Okay? What is your idea? Or how do you understand this particular concept? Because if you don't know about this one, then you are not in the good position or best position to really teach on this or to facilitate this kind of discussion among your students. Okay, so self-awareness. Mm-hmm. After that, from self-awareness, then you will now know your biases. Because number one, if you are against gun violence, you will teach, of course, your student more about against gun, against having gun, against having this gun. You forgot to teach, of course, what are the advantages of having a gun. And if you're going to have a gun, what are the things that you have to do in order for you to be responsible? Kasi na-focus ka na lang doon sa other side. Okay, these are the things that we forget to venture. Okay, showing the students the different sides, the different angles of every concept.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Joseph. But which reminds me of I think I've encountered this model before called SALT, S-A-L-T, which S stands for being sensitive, being attuned, L, just look and listen what is happening, and then finally you'll be able to translate things into bite size, because you cannot give all of this information okay, fully. Okay, you need to give this like a kid appropriate information, not just for a particular age or probably an adult focused information, but you need to be appropriate or culturally appropriate for that matter. Yeah, but
Yes.
again, based on my experience as a teacher for a long time. Yeah. Well, how is this difficult, Sano? Because your respondents, your participants in this study, or from the highly urbanized and social science subjects, diba?
Mm.
What about for the other or for the mathematics or sciences? Ano kaya ang posibleng ano nito? Is this also true to them as an experience?
Well, I cannot really answer that one, sir, because my participants for this are only science or social science teacher. Well, the only what you call this hypothetical answer for that question is probably there might be an element that they are true for them, but we have to really check on them or to make another study considering these other parts. But looking into mathematics teacher, of course, I think they will have, for me, particularly for me, because I'm not teaching mathematics. Okay, I'm not really good at that. I believe, no, this is just hypothetical. I believe that mathematics teacher will have more, okay, more difficult or unteachable moments compared to social sciences. That's just for me, based on my, hypothetical, what you call this, argument on this.
That's true. Yeah.
Uh, teachers.
Imagine those highly Palatine uh, models terms you use in mathematics and on physics. Yeah, that would really give you a nosebleed. I just would like to recognize one our participants here before we proceed, Dr. Joseph. Deli Valdez from Marbel, South Cotabato. He said, Dr. Daniel's qualitative research is very interesting. Where can we read the research on details? I think you're going to provide us a soft copy of this, right?
Yes, sir. I'm just waiting because I cannot share it now because it's on the process of publication.
All right. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Okay.
Once it is being published, because I made it into three papers. So um, one is from the Journal of Philippine Normal University, and the other one is from Taylor and Francis. So once it is done, I'm going to provide copy to Sir Babati. But if you want, I can send you the ano
PowerPoint. Yeah.
the PowerPoint of
Yes.
this.
Yes. All right. Thank you very much for that. And there's another participant of ours, Mr. Max Jr. Lambo. I said, congratulations to Sir DJ. Keep up the good work. Inattentive students really gets my nerve. I consider this as my unteachable moments.
Yes, hello, Kuya Joe. Sir, actually he's my my cousin, and they just went to the mountains just to attend to my seminar because I send them the link. So my mom and my dad are also there. Both my parents are educators. So my dad was a former high school principal and my mom is a head teacher, both in secondary. So umakyat pa sila ng bukid para lang makinig at maka-join. Kumusta po?
Okay. We get, yeah, we don't, yeah. Thank you very much for that. Comments ng ano natin, ng mga participants. Uh, any other questions? Let me have a look at my messenger. I got a few things here. Uh, how do we oh yeah, there's another one. How do we protect and convey information to young kids? I think you've mentioned this already, but maybe you can reiterate this. I
Okay.
think it's part of untouchable moments.
Um, Giving information to our kids actually is um, that could be an unteachable for the teacher because it's very difficult to filter information. What information should go to our young students or what information should not go to them? That's another part of what we call curriculum control. Because as a teacher, we are really controlling what kind of knowledge we are giving them. So, what kind of information we need to give them? There are a lot of considerations for that. Number one, you can venture into the area of psychology. Are these topics age appropriate? Okay, are these age appropriate? Can a preschooler, okay, can a school age child handle this kind of information? So that goes or boils down now. The bottom line is the teacher now is the gatekeeper of the information. Now, your question here is this. Even if I control this kind of information, can this kind of information really not reach this particular student of mine? Okay, because the social media now proliferates everywhere. Okay, by their click, they just open the Facebook, open the YouTube, a lot of things are happening there. So that will be now a kind of situation wherein the teacher really need to be critical too. Okay, what information should go to my student? Will this kind of concept really made, okay, what am I giving information to my students that protects them, okay, from information or misinformation that we're talking about while they are learning at the same time? So how do we do that really as a teacher? So you consider, is it age appropriate? Is this the time that the student really needs to have this particular concept? Okay. Next, why don't we check, of course, our existing laws? Okay. You go back again to your curriculum guide. Is this part of the curriculum guide? If this is part of the curriculum guide, you question, should it be given to the student? Will it be too early to be given to them? Or will it be too late to be given to them? Okay? Because we are not just followers or blind followers of the curriculum or the information we give to our student. We need to examine it because that's the only way we can improve our practice as teachers and we can improve also the students' learning. But the bottom line of this actually is the students should know, should learn, or should know what's really the reason why they need to do this one. Okay? What's the reason why they have to do this one? Sometimes we forget to tell our students about the one. That's why at the end, they're also confused. Why do I need to do this one? How do I relate this kind of topic or concept to my life? Okay? Will it really help me eventually? Even though they are young students, still we need to do that one. So in that way, I think we can really protect our learners. But we have also, of course, to be critical. Is our protecting them really meant to protect them? Or we are making them dependent individuals? We are making them weak individuals. Okay? By giving them or giving them too much protection from all this information. I think the most important thing is students should know the reason behind of all their activities, of all the knowledge that you are sharing to them.
Aming salamat, Dr. Joseph, for that. We'd also like to inform everybody that after the session, we will start processing your e-certificates. So kindly wait for our updates in the succeeding days. It has been a great hosting you during this webinar series. We hope to see you again in our next webinar, hopefully next month. Again, thank you for all your active participation. God bless and stay safe. Stay strong always. At this juncture, again, I would like to thank our presenter, Dr. Joseph Daniel Berdida.